Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Alright, now you can hear me because I have the microphone on. That was a little early morning. Oops. Anyway, how you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Glad you could be here today. It's the 10th of September right here. We have a Virgo sun, which is an earth sign. So the earth, just remember how the earth moves. It really doesn't unless it's jolted pretty hard by an explosion or an earthquake or something of that nature. So earth is solid. So we have our conscious mind is on the earth. Solid, practical, physical, stable. The conscious mind, the unconscious mind is in Aries. Aries is a fire sign. So beneath the surface, we have this Aries, which has this idea, these multiple ideas, this fire, which is coming out, and it's heating the earth, which is our conscious mind, providing it inspiration. So our conscious mind, which is thinking about earthly things, physical things, the body, how to help the world. It's getting all these great ideas coming from the Aries. How to begin new things, maybe a time for new projects. We just had the new moon, and with the new moon comes new opportunities because our energy is really amplified even that much more. So whatever is going on during that time, we get a chance to really look at it in its full light for that period of time that the moon is full. So we have Aries as the moon sign, Virgo as the sun sign. As we go through the course of the day to see any significant aspects. At 5:51 a.m. there was an aspect between Venus and Neptune. An opposition. So an opposition is where two things are in the opposite. Like two people on opposite ends of a teeter-totter, or two people holding a rope like a tug-of-war. Something of this nature. They can both be very supportive, or one could pull the other over, imbalance the other. Venus is about imagination. Neptune is telling us to get a new perspective on things. So these are at opposite sides. One side saying new perspective, one side's using your imagination. In some ways, both the same. Other ways, they're both different. Coming up just after noon, we have a square, which is a lesson between Pluto and the moon sign Aries. So Aries has those ideas, that fire that wants to come forward, that creativity and passion. However, Pluto wants it to be a bit more transformed. So we have a lesson that we have to deal with on how we're going to express those energies. As it gets into the afternoon, we have a sextile coming up between Mercury communication and Jupiter, which is all about expansion. So the area of our field of how we communicate is expanded. And then Jupiter continues to have an expansive field on Aries as we get a little bit later in the afternoon. Nice, good, positive trine as that Aries energies expands and our ideas of creativity and what we want to do expand. So that's good stuff, good energies. And then Mercury gets into the mix with Aries shortly after that in an opposition, where we have the Aries on one side, all these ideas that want to charge forth, and the Mercury on the other side, which wants to say and express all of these ideas. And it's a challenge on how one is going to express oneself, because there seems to be a lot of excitement. You know how it is with when you have something that you want to say or something on your mind, you also want to get it out. Well, that could kind of be what's going on here with the Aries and the Mercury both vying for attention as they stand in opposition from each other. All right, so that's what's going on today from the astrology standpoint. The numerology today, according to the Gregorian calendar, is the number 8. The way we arrived at that is 9 plus the 1 plus 0 for the 10 for the day, and the year 2014. So we have a 9107 equals a 17. 1 plus 7 equals 8. So the numerology for today is the 8. 8 is associated with the card of strength. It's also associated with the astrological sign of Leo. 8 is the number of reciprocal energy. All right, 8 is the number of righteousness. Let's look at number 8 right here where it is. It's that card of strength that's balanced. It's all about the heart and using the energy, channeling it through our heart. You can see that strength is balancing out mercy and severity. We have Jupiter and Mars are the two aspects that are being balanced. Jupiter wants to expand. Mars wants to really discipline. So between the two of them, strength has a lot of work to do, because it has to take all of this energies of Mars and balance it out here with this energy of Jupiter, so that this is allowed the opportunity to be disciplined and severe, while at the same time expanding. Okay. The moon sign for today is right down over here, Aries, and the sun sign, Virgo, right here. So let's take a look at strength. Okay, this is an important one right here. So we're going to look at strength, card number 8. So we're going to notice the yellow all around this card is very important. It's going to talk about Fohat, which is the name. Come on now, where are we at? It's a little shy today. Alright, let's move on while that's going and see if it gets itself situated. The current moon phase, 96% of the way full. Now we're making our way down to a new moon. The Mayan Oracle are up in the sky tonight. It says the gibbous moon, still big, rises in the east in the late twilight. Look well above it for the bottom corner of the uplifted great square of Pegasus. We could see that we don't have any connection going on over here. So basically, we've got strength. Strength is basically, let me pull this one up here. It's basically channeling the energy through our heart, understanding that we have to use the subconscious mind to balance the conscious mind, or the feminine aspect needs to be able to balance the masculine aspect. It's very important. If we just let one run crazy without any proper balance or check, then we got a problem. It says this card has a very profound esoteric significance. It represents the great cosmic force of which Madame Blavatsky calls Fohat. This force in the human organism is called Kundalini, the serpent power. There are any number of systems which attempt to tell students how to awaken this energy. So basically, in layman's terms, what we have is our bodies hold energy. Our bodies are all about energy. Our bodies are processors of energy. So energy is all around us. Everything is energy. As we process this energy, as we align our chakras and work with our energetic fields, we have a great powerful energy that resides within us called Kundalini, serpent power energy. It resides at the bottom of the spine, sometimes during different experiences of life, anywhere from meditation to maybe to a hard bump to maybe particular things that a person takes into their system. This Kundalini could be activated. If a person is prepared for it and their chakras are cleansed and they're in a good place, it could be a good beneficial thing. But some people, when the Kundalini starts to go through and they're not prepared for it, it can be very challenging. because it provides them with challenges that maybe the person's not ready for at that period of time. So we don't want to force the Kundalini open. We want to allow it to open slowly. So use the meditation, open the chakras, practice cleansing them like we do. Those are all processes of preparing the chakras so that you can handle more energy. And that's really what this is all about. Preparing your body to be able to handle the energy that it stores within itself naturally and the energy that you draw from outside around you. And that's what this and all the other cards are always getting us to understand. On the Mayan Oracle, we're a 3-tone day, which is called the tone of service. It's the electric tone, tone of activation, so we're activating our vision. The Skywalker theme is exploration, so today we're activating the vision of our exploration. We're guided by the storm, which is a great gathering of energy available to us. Phrases I activate in order to create bonding mind. I seal the output of vision with the electric tone of service. I am guided by the power of self-generation. Space weather, our solar wind is 369.3 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index is between a 2 and a 3. We did have a small flare the other day that is affecting us down here, which is why things are up a little bit. Alright, chrono holes have pretty much subsided facing our direction here. However, we did have one yesterday, if you recall, that we're told is sending wind our way today and tomorrow. M-class flare possibility is like it was yesterday at 75. X-class is at 30. And geomagnetic storm activity is low like it was yesterday. And over on the Jewish calendar, today is 15 Elul. 15 Elul. Let's see here. It says this is the last month of the Jewish year. Elul is traditionally a time of introspection and stock-taking, a time to review one's deeds and spiritual progress over the past year and prepare for the upcoming days of awe of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. As the month of divine mercy and forgiveness, it is the most opportune time for Teshuvah, return to God, through prayer, charity, and increased love for a fellow Jew, which is Ahavat Yisrael, in the quest for self-improvement and coming closer to God. Hasidic master Rabbi Shower Ezelman of Aladi likens the month of Elul to a time when the king is in the field, and in contrast, when he is in the royal place, everyone who desires is permitted to meet him, and he receives them with a cheerful countenance and shows a smiling face to them all. Specific Elul customs include the day sounding of the shofar as a call of repentance. The Baal Shem Tov instituted the custom reciting 3 additional prayers or psalms each day from the 1st of Elul to Yom Kippur. Okay, and let's see, our daily thought today: practice makes perfect. Anyone can see a higher world, but it's not a flash of revelation from above that will help take you there. Train yourself consistently every day until you become used to seeing each thing the way it is seen from above. A real change only comes from consistent daily practice. Alright, so there you have it. That gets us started for today. Let you know where we're at in all these different times. And that's what we're looking at. They're just times. Astrology is showing us time on one scale. Numerology showing us time another way to look at it. The Gregorian, the Mayan calendar is looking at time another way. The Jewish calendar is looking at time another way. All of these systems are different ways of looking at time. And then we look at our energetic field of the earth and the energy coming in from the cosmos that's affecting us, because it's all part of the sequence of time and energy that we're dealing with on a daily basis. And that gives us a recipe for what we have to do and deal with when we go out into the world. Alright, that gets us started. UFO news is up next. Let's get to it.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
right, Dirk, thank you very much. Our first sighting takes us over to the moon, or up to the moon. This was from the 6th. We had a lot of sightings up by the moon. New amazing video footage of a dark UFO sighting recorded while passing over the moon. A strange, dark, yet small object passing over the moon. Alright, 29-second video. Where is this? We have to look and see closely. When you enlarge the screen, it certainly makes it much easier to see. But nonetheless. It's very, very faint. Okay, I'm going to leave the link available so you can check it out, enlarge the screen, see it better. Next, we're going to go from the moon up to Taiwan. Kenting, Taiwan. There's our objects in the sky. Okay, hey guys, I was wandering along the beach looking at the many hermit crabs crawling along my feet. When I looked to admire the sunset, I noticed there were two glowing balls brighter than any setting sun. The sun itself was very low and about to set. I had only my iPhone 5S because my large camera was 150 meters away in the hotel room. The balls began moving to the clouds, so I pulled up my iPhone and began recording. During this moment in time, tiny hermit crabs on the sand decided to crawl onto my feet. This is why the recording moves. I was shaking them off. I really didn't think the iPhone video would be good enough to see it. But when I got home the next day, I uploaded to the computer and realized it caught them, the UFOs in the video, about 15 seconds before they descend into the cloud and hide. Okay. There we go, right there. Right, so there you go. 3 minutes, 2 seconds, Scott Waring describing what he experienced. Moving from there, we're going to go to a family that witnesses a triangle in Maine. Maine witnesses at Augusta, who had just left I-95 north and exited 109, reported watching a hovering triangle UFO under 500 feet that made no sound at about 8 p.m. September 7, 2014, according to a MUFON testimony. We all noticed something hovering in the sky on the opposite side of the highway in front of us, the reporting witness stated. It was triangular. It was not moving. The witness described the object, saying that at each vertex of the triangle there was a white light. The three lights appeared equidistant from each other. We could see the flat bottom, and the light allowed us to see a 90-degree angle where the bottom and the edges that moved up to give the object height. Most of us couldn't stop looking at the edges because they were not anything that like aircraft that we were familiar with. We could see that the object was a flat metal color. It had no shine to it. Where the light hit the object, it was like a tin color. There was no color lights at all. The entire family was witness to the event. My wife was driving, but she could not see out her window, but not for as long as I could see from the passenger seat. My 3 children were in the back seat. All 3 children saw the object. I saw it out the front window first and through the back window, and then took off my seat belt, stuck my head out of the roof and through the sunroof. When I stuck my head out of the roof, I could not hear anything more than the wind caused by the driving. No airplane sound at all. At any time, the object never moved. It just hovered. The family soon lost sight of the object. My wife was afraid to pull over, so we lost sight of it as we drove away. We did not look for UFOs. This object was so out of place that it was difficult for us not to notice it. All of us noticed it at the same time, and we were in shock as we stared at it for as long as we could. My daughter even became frightened. It was that real to her. Says, I didn't try to take a photo. There just was not enough time. And I would have lost a lot of time. I had to observe it. Okay. So very cool. Interesting story out there from Maine. Moving from Maine, this is around the world, a variety of hotspots. A lot of people saw UFOs in the big screen, but you don't have to settle for just seeing the mysterious aerial objects or lights at the local cinemas. If you are at the right time and the right place, you can witness the biggest event of your life. Here are places considered UFO hotspots around the world. Sochi, Russia. Sochi was not only known for the 2014 Olympics, but also for the UFO sightings long before the big event. Broadhaven, Wales. In the 70s, Broadhaven Triangle started to become famous. Named after the Bermuda Triangle, the controversial story of this place revolves around the 14 children from Broadhaven Primary School who reportedly spotted a UFO in the field next to their school. They also reported a 7-foot entity coming out of the craft wearing a silver suit. Children ran towards their teacher and reported what they had just witnessed. They were told by him to draw what they had seen. Interestingly, all the pictures reveal the same craft, a saucer-shaped thing with a dome on top. Wycliffe Well, Australia. UFO sightings in this area date back to World War II. The Wycliffe Well Holiday Park has gained attention and interest because of the range of UFO paraphernalia, souvenirs, and alien structures. Mexico City, Mexico. Started to get mysterious during the solar eclipse in '91 when people started to report about UFO activities. In the mid-'90s, someone released the footage showing a UFO flying over a restricted airspace. Then in 2005, mass UFO sightings were reported in which thousands of people apparently witnessed hundreds of lights and objects traveling across the sky. Chile, UFO Trail. Spectacular views could be seen in the UFO Trail. It is reported that the place has an alien airport, and many have reported that spaceships land on El Enladrilado, which can be reached by hiking to an elevation of 2,286 meters. The Extraterrestrial Highway in Nevada. This is the area near the controversial top-secret Area 51, believed to house crashed spaceships and alien bodies. In Scotland, UK, the Falkirk Triangle. This place is widely known for flying discs, floating cubes, and cigar-shaped objects. It recorded 300 sightings in just a year. Local residents have been clamoring for proper and comprehensive government investigation of these strange activities. Nazca City, Peru. The place is known for ancient geoglyphs, and their amazing design can be seen entirely from 1,500 feet above. Since ancient Nazca people don't have the equipment to fly, the designs are mysterious. Many believe they were designed as spacecraft landing strips. Warminster, Wiltshire, UK. Early in the 60s, there were reports of a UFO leaving a trail of sparks, and it was witnessed by 4 people in Warminster, and it was followed by a claim of someone who apparently saw a UFO from the window when she awoke by peculiar sounds, adding intrigue to the ancient and mysterious Stonehenge located near the area. In California, USA, this is among the top states when it comes to UFO sightings. UFOs are commonly reported from San Diego to San Francisco. Okay, so there you go. Good list of UFO hotspots. This article here says the relationship of the UFO phenomenon and wars. Check out this interesting TV show from Tercer Milenio about UFOs and wars. And this video itself, 4 minutes, 23 seconds. We have Jaime Maussan introducing and talking about it. But we've certainly seen and heard plenty of stories where there's war activity going on. UFO activity seems to be occurring. Not that they're joining in the fight, but they are certainly there when what appears to be an observational standpoint. And the last one is MUFON. You hear the name MUFON quite a bit. Well, here's a good link to what is MUFON. MUFON is an American institution that doesn't seek earning, looking into identified flying object witnessing experiences. Walter H. Andrus, Allen, Utke, John Scheffler, amongst others, had built it on May 31st, 1969 in Quincy, Illinois. Thus, it is one of the most ancient and biggest non-combative UFO examining institutions in the world. The institution's goal is to look into UFO witness observations and amass the information into MUFON Index so that researchers use them all around the world. And 2, to enlighten people onto the prevalence of UFOs and their impact on a given population. Staff requirements. 1. Staff. The institution has in excess of 1,500 representatives around the globe, and most of them are located in the U.S. MUFON Network organizes a yearly convention and circulates the MUFON UFO Journal month to month. Out of the 1,500, 75 are the field examiners, along with special units to look into real organic proof of space being objects. Requirements. Even though the participants don't get any money, participants need to study a 265-page handbook and do a background check. How does MUFON analyze an incident? It says MUFON gets a lead through a connection with the local officials and media, along with emails from base operation. Next, the state director hires 1 or 2 on-field analyzers from the area where the incident took place. They ask questions to people who saw the UFO, take notes, do drawings, and revisualize the sightings, and look into how it's affected the surroundings. Further interviews with police and neighbors lead to finding of more eyewitnesses. Afterward, the analyzers provide a written interpretation of the whole sighting so the state director can scrutinize it. Furthermore, if there is a physical evidence such as pictures or soil samples, experts in those fields look into them. Lastly, all the information is gathered into a directory for a comparative study. Consequently, they get more understanding of UFO activities. And 5, MUFON and Blue Book. Project Blue Book was looking into UFOs in Middle America during the 60s at the University of Colorado. However, the U.S. government had dispersed them in '69. At the same time, Aerial Phenomena Research Organization was looking into UFO movements on the U.S. West Coast at Berkeley University. In order to capitalize on Blue Book's demise and expand their power, ARPO established a new institution named the Midwest UFO Network to look into the UFO cases. Since then, it's been the largest institution and has operations all over the globe. 6. How to become part of MUFON or address a personal UFO experience. It says in order to become a field analyzer for MUFON, one has to join the institution and pay a small amount of money. Let the state director know of your willingness to join and pass a written test. Afterwards, the application teams up with the experienced analyst to get more instructions. If a witness has seen a UFO, they can let the local MUFON office know of their experience through the MUFON website. So there you go, MUFON. So for those of you who are wondering how you could study, how you could be involved in the study of UFOs, here's how. It's a good place to start, MUFON. Contact them. Links are available. Contact information is available at their links. And you can find out how you can be part of their program and learn to get more involved in investigating UFOs. All right. I'm going to jump away. I'll be right back, and we shall continue on. Stay tuned.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Continue on. So we've been talking on Wednesdays about Atlantis, and I've been reading from a book called Atlantis, the Antediluvian World by Ignatius Donnelly. This is a very important book, one of the books that came out that really brought a lot of attention to Atlantis and gave more reason for wanting to go ahead and research to see what's out there. So I've been skipping around, and last chapter we did was the Genesis contains a history of Atlantis. I want to go and look at our alphabet, this next chapter, the origin of our alphabet. It's always good to know how things originated, right? The origin of our alphabet. It says, transcriber's note. The argument in this section heavily depends on the Bishop Landamaya alphabet, which has now been discredited. The Mayan writing was not decoded until late in the 20th century. Mayan hieroglyphs are ideographic with a phonetic component, albeit not the ones that Landa described. The only thing demonstrated in this section is the evolution of the alphabet in the Old World, which has no bearing on the question of Atlantis. All right. Let's just jump out here. Let's just look and see what else we have that we might want to look at. I think we've pretty much gone through this book as much as I want to go through it. There's a lot more here, but you can see it just gets into different areas. Let's look at this last one. Atlantis Reconstructed. See what this is about. This will be the last chapter of the book, and unable to establish a connection. Try it again. Alright, was having some problems earlier. Going to different sites. One more try. Anyway, Atlantis is very important. I think it's very important. I know that there's a lot of souls that are here now that remember being in Atlantis. Remember that time. Remember the crazy things that were going on. And when I have conversations with those who have lifetimes that they remember from Atlantis, they all seem to have similar stories about the corruption that took place and how we really are repeating history. And a lot of people that I've talked to in this regard say they feel like they're seeing things being repeated over and over again. And here we're just doing the same things we've done in the past. So we need to change, because if this story is true, well, the things that they did weren't very good and they ended up sinking. And if we're at that point in time, then we might be on the verge of sinking. Let's not do that. Alright, this is the last chapter in the book, Atlantis Reconstructed. The further we go back in time towards the era of Atlantis, the more the evidences multiply that we are approaching the presence of a great wise civilized race. For instance, we find the Egyptians, Ethiopians, and the Israelites from the earliest ages refusing to eat the flesh of swine. The Western nations departed from this rule, and in these modern days we are beginning to realize the dangers of this article of food on account of the trichina contained in it. And when we turn to the Talmud, we are told that it was forbidden to the Jews because of the small insect which infests it. The Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Phoenicians, and the Hebrews, and the others of the ancient races practiced circumcision. It was probably resorted to in the Atlantean days and imposed as a religious duty to arrest one of the most dreadful scourges of the human race, a scourge which continued to decimate the people of America, arrested their growth, and paralyzed their civilization. Circumcision stamped out the disease in Atlantis. We read one of the Atlantean king, the king of god Uranus, who in a time of plague compelled the whole army and the armies of his allies to undergo the rite. The colonies that went out to Europe carried the practice, but not the disease out of which originated with them. And it was not until Columbus reopened communication with the infected people of the West India Islands that the scourge crossed the Atlantic and turned Europe, as one has expressed it, into a carnal house. Life insurance statistics show nowadays that the average life and health of the Hebrew is much greater than that of other men, and he owes this to the retention of practices and beliefs imposed 10,000 years ago by the great wise race of Atlantis. Let us now, with all of the facts before us, glean from the various sources, reconstruct as near as may be the condition of the Antediluvians. They dwelt upon a great island near which were other small islands, probably east and west of them, forming stepping stones, as it were, towards Europe and Africa in one direction, and the West Indian islands in America in the other. There were volcanic mountains on the main island rising the height of 1,500 feet, with their tops covered with perpetual snow. Below these were elevated tablelands upon which were royal establishments. Below these again was the great plain of Atlantis. There were 4 rivers flowing north, south, east, and west from a central point. The climate was like that of the Azores, mild and pleasant, the soil volcanic and fertile and suitable at its different elevations for the growth of the productions of the tropical and temperate zones. The people represented at least 2 different races, a dark brown reddish race akin to the Central Americans, the Berbers, and the Egyptians, and a white race like the Greeks, Goths, Celts, and Scandinavians. Various battles and struggles followed between the different peoples for supremacy. The darker race seemed to have been physically a smaller race with small hands. The lighter color race was much larger, hence the legends of the Titans and the Giants. The Gaunches of the Canary Islands were men of very great stature, as the works of the Bronze Age represent a small-handed race, and as the races who possessed the ships and the gunpowder joined in the war against the giants, we might conclude that the dark races were more civilized, that they were the metal workers and the navigators. The fact that the same opinions and customs exist on both sides of the ocean imply identity of origin. It might be argued the fact that the explanation of many customs existing in both hemispheres is to be found only in America implies that the primeval stock existed in America, the emigrating portion of the population carrying away the custom but forgetting the reason for it. The fact that domestic cattle and the great cereals, wheat, oats, barley, and rye are found in Europe and not in America would imply that after population moved to Atlantis from American civilization was developed in Atlantis, and that in the later ages communication was closer and more constant between Atlantis and Europe than between Atlantis and America. In the case of the bulky domestic animals, it would be more difficult to transport them in the open vessels of that day from Atlantis across the wider expanse of sea to America than it would be to carry them by way of the now submerged islands in front of the Mediterranean Sea to the coast of Spain. It may be, too, that the climate of Spain and Italy was better adapted to the growth of wheat, barley, oats, and rye than maize, while the drier atmosphere of America was better suited to the latter plant. Even now, comparatively little wheat or barley is raised in Central America, Mexico, Peru, and none of the low coasts of those countries, while a small quantity of maize proportionally grown in Italy, Spain, and the rest of the Western Europe, the rainy climate being unsuited to it. We have seen that there is reason to believe that maize is now known in a remote period of the drier regions of Europe, of the Egyptians and the Chinese. As science has been able to reconstruct the history of the migrations of the Aryan race by the words that exist or fail to appear in the kindred branches of that tongue, so the time will come when the careful comparison of the words, customs, and opinions, arts existing to the opposite sides of the Atlantic will furnish an approximate sketch of Atlantean history. The people had attained a high position as agriculturists. The presence of the plow in Egypt and Peru implies that they had possessed that implement, and the horns of the ox head of Baal show the esteem which the cattle were held amongst them, as we suppose they had passed that stage into which the plow was drawn by men, as in Europe and Egypt and Peru in ancient times, and in Sweden during the historical period, and that it was drawn by oxen and horses. The first domesticated the horse, hence the association with Poseidon or Neptune, the sea god, with horses, hence the race horses for horses described by Plato. They possessed sheep and manufactured woolen goods. They also had goats, dogs, and swine. They raised cotton and made cotton goods, and they also probably cultivated maize, wheat, oats, barley, rye, tobacco, hemp, and flax, and probably potatoes. They built aqueducts and practiced irrigation. They were architects, sculptors, and engravers. They possessed an alphabet. They worked in tin, copper, bronze, silver, gold, and iron. During the vast period of their duration, as peace and agriculture caused their population to increase to overflowing, they spread out in colonies east and west to the ends of the earth. This was not the work of a few years, but of many centuries, and the relations between the colonies may have been something like the relation between the different colonies that in the larger age were established by the Phoenicians, the Greeks, and the Romans. There was an intermingling that was more with the more ancient races, the autochthons of the different lands where they settled, and the same crossing of stocks, which we know to have continued all throughout the historical period, must have been going on for thousands of years, whereby new races and new dialects were formed, and the result of all of this has been that the smaller races of antiquity have grown larger, while the complexions shade into each other so that we can pass from the whitest to the darkest by insensible degrees. In some respects, the Atlantean exhibited conditions similar to those in British Islands, where they were the same and even greater races differences in the population, the same plantation of colonies in Europe, Asia, and America, the same carrying of civilization to the ends of the earth. We have seen colonies from Great Britain going out into the 3rd and 5th centuries to settle on the shores of France, in Brittany representing one of the nationalities and languages of the mother country, a race Atlantean in origin. In the same way, we suppose Hamitic immigrations have gone out from Atlantis to Syria, Egypt, and the Barbary states. If we could imagine Highland, Scotch, Welsh, Cornish, and Irish populations emigrating en masse from England in later times and carrying to their new lands the civilization of England, while peculiar language is not English, we would have a state of things probably like more migrations which took place from Atlantis. England was a civilization Atlantean origin, peopled by races from the same sources, repeating in these modern times the empires of Zeus and Kronos, and just as we have seen Troy, Egypt, and Greece warning against the parent race, so in latter days we have seen Brittany and the United States separating themselves from England, the race characteristics remaining after the governmental connection had created. In religion, the Atlanteans had reached all the great thoughts which underlie our modern creeds. They had attained the conception of one universal, omnipotent, great first cause. We find the worship of this one God in Peru and early Egypt. They looked upon the sun as a mighty emblem, type, and instrumentality of the one God. Such a conception could only have come with civilization. It is not until these later days that science had realized the utter dependence of all earthly life upon the sun's rays. All application of animal power may be regarded as derived, directly or indirectly, from the static chemical power of the vegetable substance by which the various organisms and their capabilities are sustained, and this power in turn from the kinetic action of the sun's rays. Words and ocean currents, hailstorms, rain, sliding glaciers, flowing rivers, and falling cascades are the direct offspring of solar heat. All our machinery, therefore, whether driven by the windmill or the water wheel, by the horsepower or steam, all the results of electro and electromagnetic charges, our telegraphs, our clocks, and our watches are all wound up primarily by the sun. The sun is the great source of energy that is almost all terrestrial phenomena. From the meteorological to the geographical, from the geological to the biological, in the expenditure and the conversion of molecular movements derived from the sun's rays must be sought the motive power of all infinitely varied phantasmagoria. But the people of Atlantis had gone further. They believed that the soul of man was immortal and that he would live again in this material body. In other words, they believed in the resurrection of the body and the life everlasting. They accordingly embalmed their dead. The Duke of Agriel, Unity of Nature, says, "We have found in the most ancient records of the Aryan language proof that the indications of religious thoughts are higher, simpler, and purer as we go back in time, until at last, in the very oldest composition of human speech which have come down to us, we find the divine being spoken of in the sublime language which forms the opening of the Lord's Prayer. The date and absolute chronology of the oldest of the Vedic literatures does not seem to be known. Professor Max Mueller, however, considers that it may possibly take us back 5,000 years. All we can see with certainty is that the earliest inventions of mankind are the most wonderful the race has ever made. The first use of fire and discovery of the methods by which it can be kindled, the domestication of wild animals, and above all, the processes by which the various cereals were first developed out of some of the wild grasses. These are all discoveries with which an ingenuity and in importance no subsequent discoveries may compare. They are all unknown to history, all lost in light and effulgent dawn. The Atlanteans possessed an established order of priests. The religious worship was pure and simple. They lived under kingly government. They had their courts, their judges, their records, their monuments covered with inscriptions, their mines, their foundries, their workshops, their looms, grist mills, boats and sailing vessels, highways, aqueducts, wharves, clocks, docks, canals. They held processions, banners, and archetypal and triumphal arches for their kings and heroes. They built pyramids, temples, round towers, and obelisks. They practiced religious ablutions. They knew the use of the magnet and of gunpowder. In short, they were enjoyment of civilization nearly as high as their own, lacking only the printing press and those inventions in which steam, electricity, and magnetism are used. We are told that the Deva Nausha visited the colonies in farther India, an empire which reached from the Andes to the Hindostan, if not to China, must have been magnificent indeed. In its markets must have been the maize of Mississippi Valley, the copper of Lake Superior, all the gold and silver of Peru and Mexico, the spices of India, the tin of Wales and Cornwall, the bronze of Iberia, the amber of the Baltic, the wheat and barley of Greece, Italy, and Switzerland. It is not surprising when the mighty nation sank beneath the waves in the midst of the terrible convulsions and all its millions of people. The event left an everlasting impression upon the imagination of mankind. Let us suppose that Great Britain should tomorrow meet with a similar fate. What a wild consternation would fall upon her colonies and the whole human family. The world might relapse into barbarism, deep and almost universal. William the Conqueror, Richard Coeur de Lion, Alfred the Great, Cornwall, Victoria might survive only as the gods or demons of later races, but the memory of the cataclysm, in which the center of the universal empire instantaneously went down to death, would never be forgotten. It would survive in fragments more or less complex in every land on earth. It would outlive the memory of 1,000 lesser convulsions of nature. It would survive dynasties, nations, creeds, and languages. It would never be forgotten while man continued to inhabit the face of the globe. Science has but commenced its work of reconstructing the past and rehabilitating the ancient peoples, and surely there is no study which applies more strongly to the imagination than that of the drowned nation, the true Antediluvians. They were the founders of nearly all of our arts and sciences. They were the parents of our fundamental beliefs. They were the first civilizers, the first navigators, the first merchants, the first colonizers of the earth. Their civilization was old when Egypt was young. They had passed away thousands of years before Babylon, Rome, or London were dreamed of. This lost people were our ancestors. Their blood flows in our veins. The words we use every day were heard in their primitive form in their cities, courts, and temples. Every line of race and thought, of blood and belief, lead back to them. Nor is it impossible the nations of the earth may yet employ their idle natives in bringing the light of day some of the rules of the buried people. Portions of the island lie but a few hundred fathoms beneath the sea, and if expeditions have been sent out from time to time in the past to resurrect from the depths of the ocean sunken treasure ships with a few thousand doubloons bidden to their cabins, why should not an attempt be made to reach out to the buried wonders of Atlantis? A single engraved tablet dredged up from Plato's island would be worth more to science would be than the imagination of mankind, than all of the gold of Peru, all of the monuments of Egypt, and all of the terracotta fragments gathered to the likeness of the libraries of Chaldea. May not the so-called Phoenician coins found in the Corvo, one of the Azores, be of Atlantean origin? Is it probable that the great race, preeminent as the founder of colonies, could have visited those islands while the historical period and have left them unpeopled as they were discovered by the Portuguese? We are but beginning to understand the past. 100 years ago, the world knew nothing of Pompeii or Herculaneum, nothing of the lingual tie that bonds together the Indo-European nations, nothing of the significance of the vast volume of the inscriptions upon the tombs and the temples in Egypt, nothing of the meaning of the arrow-headed inscriptions of Babylon, nothing of the marvelous civilizations revealed in the remains of the Yucatan, Mexico, and Peru. We are on the threshold. Scientific investigation is advancing with giant strides. Who shall say that 100 years from now the great museums of the world may not be adorned with gems, statues, arms, and implements from Atlantis, or the libraries of the world should contain translations of its inscriptions, throwing new light upon this past history and the human race, and all the great problems which now perplex the thinkers of our day. And there you have it. That will wrap up our research and look into the book Atlantis, the Antediluvian World. The PDF's available. Not the PDF, but the link to the site where you can go. You could find PDFs, I'm sure, online if you just Google it. And there you have it. Let's jump on next to an article from In5D. This article is about meditation and synchronicity. It comes to us from Robert Puff, PhD. You're talking to a friend and there's a pause in the conversation. You break the silence by saying, "What just popped in my mind?" Your friend responds with, "No way, I was thinking exactly the same thing." You stumble upon your friend's number in your address book. You decide to give him a ring and see how she is. She picks up the phone and she shares that her grandmother just died and she really needed your support. You reached out to her at the precise moment that she was seeking comfort. Events like these have a small probability of occurring, yet they still happen. Some would call them coincidences, but I encourage you to think differently. The focus of this post is on the phenomena called synchronicity. Synchronicity is related to probability because synchronous events usually take place between two people, and they are rare and unexplained. Scientific study of them is few and far between, but it doesn't mean that they are outside our experiences. We find proof of synchronicity in our lives by listening to the experiences of others. In fact, sharing our synchronistic experiences are a powerful way to reinforce their validity. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead to the end of the article here. We've talked about synchronicity a number of times, so you have the basic understanding of what it is. This article ends by saying, suspend judgment for a while and just give it a try. Meditate regularly, once in the morning, once in the evening, and see if your life flows better. Witness if synchronous events happen with greater frequency, and feel free to share your stories with me. Okay, so I think that's very important to understand the synchronicities of life. We certainly talk about them plenty of times, and the more that we do tap into ourselves through meditation and other forms of learning about ourselves, the more we find that these synchronicities occur. The question is, are they occurring because of what we're doing, or are we just noticing what is there already? I venture to say we're just noticing what is there, because that's what happens when we do this meditation practice. We're able to see a little bit better than we were able to see before. All right, here is a message for today. It's God's message. Here we go.
God message.
September 9th, 2014, by Karen Dover.
Beloved ones, I am the energies that are referenced to you as God, and I am here with you as you now move and shift into full fluidity. For many of you this may seem like chaos has unleashed itself in your life experience, and yet this is but a smokescreen. In order to move into full fluidity, it is necessary to unfreeze that which has been frozen. The human race within the old 3D Earth-created construct was taught to freeze the emotions of grief, abandonment, and betrayal, and it is these emotions and concepts that now come up for complete release within, around and through your human vehicle. As water flows, so must the emotions that you are here to experience in this your human form, and the fluidity will begin to emerge from within the heart space in truth. For many of you this may seem like an ocean is before you, and you may believe that in order to cross the ocean you must navigate deep water and possibly drown in the process, but this is not truth, and your soul is now showing you truth in relation to this process. To understand the process you must allow the process to unfold around you, through you, and within you. to allow self to release the tears and to understand that the release is multi and interdimensional in nature, for you have lived lifetime upon the frozen wasteland of these emotions. Now the sun comes to release the pressure, to turn the ice to water and allow the flow of all, through, around and within you. At this time I send the following coding: 111 222 333 0000000000000. I place the gold ank of life within the solar plexus, and I place the seal of Solomon within the heart space. Breathe and be, for all just is, and you are in truth. All is not as it appears to your naked human eyes. The tears will give way to the sunshine, which is the very essence of your being in truth. All stand in celebration of the human race as they now lift their eyes to heaven and understand that all just is in truth. Miracles unfold at the pace set by your soul at this time. Understand that all are one and all support all at this time and beyond.
All right, good message. Good message indeed. So, that brings us to our meditation for today. So, we're gonna focus on our meditation today on good vibes. The reason being, what we're gonna focus on specifically is today is the 10th of September. We all know what happened on September 11th, 2001, and then recently in Benghazi on September 11th. We all know from paying attention, to what's going on in the world, that mainstream media is dropping clues that there's going to be some other event that takes place. I don't know what's going to happen. However, I do know that there's a lot of fear being put out into the world, and this war on terror is this endless fear game that goes on there. And there's a lot of people that are concerned and scared by what's going on, though I think a lot have caught on to the games that the governments play to not get caught up into them. So over this next 24, 48 hours, just remember, we need to remember to keep calm heads. Let's not get caught up in any of the nonsense that's going on out there. If we hear some stories, let's just take it with a grain of salt. Remember, false flag events happen all the time, sponsored by the governments, and if something was to go on, it's because they've dropped enough clues letting us know that there's something that's going to go on. And so, let's just send love into the mix. So no matter what happens, hopefully there won't be anything to happen, but no matter what goes on, that we all stay calm, that we all put the proper amount of energy into the situation, which is love, because that is not what is being put out there by the powers that be. So take a deep breath. Exhale. Take another deep breath. Inhale love. And exhale. And take another deep breath. And exhale again. And just keep breathing in and out. And just imagine this flow of energy flowing in and out. And imagine the flow of the ocean that flows in and out. And as the tides and the waves move in and out, we realize that in life, energy moves in and out. So we imagine this energy moving in and out in each one of our cells. And we find that there is a synchronicity, that everything moves in and then it moves out in synchronistic fashion with each other. And as we step back and we look at life, we see that each one of us is part of this inhale and exhale. For sometimes life goes one way and goes another. And so as we pay attention to the ins and outs, the breathing of life, we understand that the most important thing is to keep breathing and to send love into the mix. So we keep breathing, we keep allowing the energy to move, and we keep sending love into the mix. And we imagine the world, a world during the time of chaos. And we imagine sending love out into the world, and we imagine it like a blanket, just slowly covering the planet. And as it does, we imagine all of those who are fearful to catch that love in their hearts, and suddenly they aren't afraid anymore. We imagine those who are out there spreading disinformation, feeling that love, and suddenly realizing their disinformation is only hurting others, and they stop. We imagine those who are telling lies suddenly realize the error of their ways and how their lies are hurting others, including themselves, so they stop telling the lies. We imagine those around the world who are running around fighting wars suddenly realize how silly and stupid it is to be fighting a war, and they stop. And one by one, we start to see all of the bad things come to an end. And as the bad things come to the end, we see that there are those who are upset by that because they want those bad things to continue. So we know that we have to take all of those individuals and we imagine them surrounded by love. And we send them so much love that their brains just short circuit. And all of the darkness and evil that was in them just dissipates away until they're able to look at life and make better decisions and realize that their methods were not helping but were only hurting. So we keep sending love into the world today. We send peaceful, positive thoughts, thoughts of comfort. And we just let love be enough on this day. So let the subconscious mind continue on the journey of sending out love, and let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's our show for today. Let's just go out into the world and let's just be positive today. Let's just put positive energy. There's going to be a lot of nonsense going on. A lot of people still believe the 9/11 story that the government told. It's not true. So let's just send love and light to all of those individuals who are still stuck in the old belief. To those who are still buying the lies. Because it is for only when we tell and understand the truth that we can look past it to understand how not to have that problem happen again. And they're only happening because good people are turning a blind eye. So it's no longer blind eye time. It's now time for us to look and see. We'll look through the eyes of love. How about that? That's it, my friends. That's all I have to say for today. I'll be back tomorrow. I love you. Keep loving each other. We'll make the world the way we need it to be. Talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.